I just do think with Brown and South Asian culture, we need to be even more intentional because we know that we are definitely more towards the overprotective, limiting, bit of over-controlling side.
To like progress in terms of what our culture is and what it's going to become, I think convos like this are important so that like you kind of identify what kind of things do you want to keep, what do you want to let go of. Hello and welcome back to the Brown Playbook. Today, we're gonna go a bit off piece. I want to talk to you about why girls and boys are treated so differently in South Asian homes. Talk to me. Give me your take firstly.
That's a tasty one.
Go for it.
Well, the first thing is, I think, is older or younger.
Yeah.
That's like a key part of it. And obviously boys and girls. I think obviously if you're a boy, you're going to be... South Asian parents or brown parents are always going to be a bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
Where the girls naturally, and in some ways, well, a lot of ways, rightly so, they're a bit more overprotective. Well, protective and overprotective, which obviously is quite frustrating for like, I think like my sister when she was younger, meaning that it's quite limiting. You said a good thing earlier that, for example, if you're a guy and you're going out, it's kind of like, oh, cool, see you back home. Maybe tell me the time you're going to be back. With the girls, it's a lot more of like, where are you going, location.
Who, what, where.
Yeah, who you going with, what time.
Yeah.
And always a stern or a very rigorous check of what they're doing compared to us. But obviously we've got a good... We can talk about this loads because we're obviously both boys, so we've got to talk about our sister's perspectives as well. Yeah. But I've got an older sister, you've got a younger sister, so you're the oldest, and I'm a younger sibling. So yeah, chat to me. What was it like being an older sibling, mate?
Yeah, you're the guinea pig, innit?
Yeah,
like
bro.
Me particularly, bro. So like, when we moved, and then just all the figuring out. You obviously do with your first kid, but because my parents figured so much different stuff out between just obviously navigating life in itself, but navigating a move to a different country and then really settling in there and figuring out the society and everything, I just ended up going to loads of different schools, like getting accustomed to loads of different cultures. And yeah, like even within, so for example, so the places I've been is Gujarat and the southeast of England, but loads of different communities within those spaces as well. So like my primary school compared to my secondary school is so different. Yeah. Right?
Even
like,
me, to be fair.
Yeah. So where I went to school in Gujarat compared to where all my cousins went to school was completely different as well. So like I've been exposed to loads of different little slivers of society constantly, and I was the way they kind of figured a lot of the stuff out because that's why I've been to so many schools.
How many schools have you been to?
10.
That's a lot.
Before you met me, it was 5, and then obviously my move away after, which we've done in a different episode. But so like that was the difference. And whereas like for my sister, it's been relatively smooth because we moved here quite soon after she was born. She went to a primary school, she went to a secondary school.
England upbringing,
you know what I mean?
Chat to me. So tell me, what was obviously we say guinea pig and they learn a lot, but what does that actually feel like at the time? Like what would oh my God, this is sick, I get to go out. Like what were the pros and cons? But my God, this is bare frustrating. Chat to me. The
pros were, if you perform, then you get relative freedom. So if you're doing well, this is my case. So if I'm doing well in sport and academics, then my dad's never going to tell me, oh, you're not allowed to go out. My dad wasn't that strict Indian dad, to be honest. I know what they're like, but just through like TV and my cousins' dads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But my dad, he wasn't super strict like that. He was calm. He's like, just do what you need to do, right? Get the responsibilities down and then do what you want.
And what about your mum?
She'd try. She'd try put a lid on it, but like, she's too sweet. She's too sweet a lady. She's this little 5 foot, small, sweet little lady that like if she tries to be strict, I just kind of laughed at her when I was growing up. I did what I wanted. So like if she's getting mad, I'm like, oh, look at you. Yeah, my mum stopped being able to intimidate me as soon as I got to secondary school. And that was it. Like, and then me and her just had the dynamic. We're just nice to each other. Like she can't really, she doesn't really do the whole telling off kind of thing. But yeah. But what about you? You're obviously younger.
Mine was, I was obviously younger. I think But obviously being younger and then being a boy, as I said before, I definitely think it's more relaxed.
Yeah.
I think where it's tough is, especially if you've got, like, my older sister was really high performing in academics. I think you feel that pressure of doing really well at GCSEs, that kind of follow-up pressure where they do really well at GCSEs, really well at A-levels, uni, and then they're basically grad jobs. Everything she smashed then becomes quite difficult for the younger, obviously in my case, brother or younger sibling, to just continuously keep following up. You feel like you're just basically on a bit of a treadmill, and a lot of the times either your parents just think it's a given and it's not a given, and with that you can feel a lot of pressure to, like, not even just try and match it, let alone obviously try and exceed it. So I think that's like a big pressure on that. I think the other thing is, well, the biggest advantage is that your older sibling can tell you all the mistakes they've done. So the guidance and wisdom that obviously they never have, you have, which is super sick. I think another thing which is quite hard, mainly this is actually a parent point, but now that I'm older, can kind of look back as, it takes a bit of time naturally for the parents to work out the differences between the older and the younger sibling. So if they try parent you the same as what the older sibling was like, and I get the kids are different as well, so it's not an easy thing. I think if they're like, well, they liked it, and especially there's a four-year age gap between me and my sister, so it's not super big, but it's not like a year either. Where if my older sister liked one thing, that wasn't guaranteed I was gonna like something. And sometimes they try push you into, not push you, that's the wrong word. They try to, they if they think one sibling's interested, they think maybe the other would too, right? But that doesn't sometimes always work. But what about you? Because you obviously have a bigger age gap. So I'd say me and my sister are quite close now, and we have pretty similar interests.
Me and my sister are very different. The only things we link up for, obviously, like family stuff, but like, of course, our common interests are, we both like watch anime together. We love a ramen together. Like, that's how we kind of, have
but in terms of like relating to things, like
it's getting better and better now. So like, so
she's
now
getting older now.
Exactly.
The older it gets at,
so the age gap, what it meant is I was too much older to be filled in constantly about her goss as I'm growing up, because like, when I turned 18, you were like just 11, 12, right?
It's such different stages.
It's so different that like it's almost like a bit more of a parental role, really. Like just guidance, constant, like as you said, the mistakes, like that was even more so for us. So like after she got old enough where like she's a bit more independent, we started having more of a dynamic where we could turn more into friends, which was needed. But that wouldn't have been able to happen until like a couple of years ago. So that's kind of what my like dynamic is. But
well, I saw
you're quite like, you're a lot closer, like, and you were as you were growing up.
I think just because of the stages wise, as you said, is that you've got a good balance where, as I said, like, just as I'm in secondary school when she's in secondary school, for example, right? So she's just done GCSE. Well, GCSE is a bit further, but A-levels, and I'm just about to do, or nearing my GCSEs. Just as she's leaving uni, I'm just kind of just about to start, right? So my sister's, there's a small enough age gap where my sister still remembers that time. For you, when you're 18 and about to hit uni, you so long ago that you just started secondary school or something, right? So I think that obviously helps. That's like the main reason. But obviously we all know the stories of like, well, we've been there, we've both been to uni, of like, just, you can just
this
tell
approach
the kids,
does not necessarily lead to them being a certain way through our life.
We can just tell the kids that obviously just either had bare strict parents, they don't know what freedom looked like, or even they weren't even independent, and they get to uni and it's just like, what is going
wild
on? So that's, I think, especially South Asian culture and brown parents, I think being too strict just has the adverse effect. It's overall hard to balance, obviously.
It's hard to balance. I think it comes from a good place though. I like the idea that, I don't think it will ever be completely accepted in our culture and our community, like the really outlandish stuff that happens like elsewhere. So kids getting younger and younger now that are dressing older. So like a 12-year-old now does not look like a 12-year-old from 10 years ago, right? I don't think that's as much the case in our community, and that's because we're quite on the girls. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, I do know
So
what you
in a
mean.
way, it kind of like the protective side of like the boys in the Indian community and like the South Asian community makes it such that.
Well, obviously, we're very family orientated
Yeah.
and look out for our families. I don't know. I think there definitely is a balance though, because you don't want to be overprotective because
Exactly.
like maybe your sister and my sister defo felt it, is that you basically feel like you can't do anything. As we go back to the start with the info thing, I get it. You're a teenager. You're at that age, 15, 16. You want to go cinema with your mates or something. For us, it was so easy.
Yeah,
For them,
yeah.
it's like always someone's breathing down your neck potentially, right?
Yeah.
So the balance is hard. But then, of course, you have a daughter, and especially like my sister, it's your older sibling, your first time parenting. You don't have a manual. Like, you're going to be more protective, of course.
Yeah.
But I think that it's a hard one, really. But then on top of it, though, you've got what I kind of call the generational hangover,
Go on.
which is basically where tech and, I don't know, just generations and the time is so different from when your dad was a teenager and your grandparents parented him to now obviously your parents parenting you, that I feel like a lot of the time, or not of a lot of the time, but sometimes we would just get that saying of be like, oh, well, my parents did it. And it's like, bro, it's bare different now. Like, obviously in ways that you do copy what your parents did to you, so that completely makes sense. But at that time, I'll be real, bro, that used to frustrate me a little bit. Because it's like, come on now, like, that's just such a... It's about, well, that happens. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't mean that it's right. You know what I'm trying to say? You can't just be like, well...
Get with the times, Jack. Get with the times, mate.
That would frustrate you. Knowing you, I know that would frustrate
The thing is, I just wouldn't have it. I'd go do what I wanted anyway. That's what I'm saying.
But
They kind of just worked out, but...
And also, I feel like a lot of then that's opened up a can of
Go on.
worms, right? Because then obviously you've got like all the 101 old school, like this tradition, that tradition, bit of manipulation here, bit of that, like, you know, old school parenting, especially in Brown times, is or a cheeky bit of gaslighting here.
Oh, yeah. Thing is, though, I feel like English words like that kind of make it seem deeper than it is. Like, if you say, oh, my parents used to gaslight me.
But that's because it's ingrained in our culture. There was no label, bro.
Yeah, there's no label, but I don't think a bit of gaslighting's too bad for a kid. It's a kid.
Nah,
you know what I mean?
bro, if I spoke to you when you were 14 years old, I
wouldn't feel that way then.
You would not feel that way.
But you're managing a little human, like, do you know what I mean? Like, as I'm growing up, you got to feed them a little. You got to feed them a little bullshit every now and then. You got to send them the wrong way. Maybe sometimes there's like, sometimes it goes wrong. You traumatize them a bit, but like,
whoa, no, bro,
no. I just don't want to give like because of the generation.
You don't want them to become too soft though either. That's
what? No, this is what I'm saying. So because of your generation's I'm actually feeling a lot for like our parents' generation, like a lot, because they've had to navigate bare change. So like things like this, I understand as a community, certain things need to go. Like their level of emotional blackmail can chill out. Like, you don't need, not everything needs to be like, 2000s Bollywood drama. Don't get me wrong. Do you know what I mean? Particularly like in my household, we don't get angry at each other at all.
Yeah.
Like the very few times where there's like any disagreement, it's like a sad vibe. I'm like, I've had enough of that now, to be honest. We can move past that kind of thing and be practical. But I think that, I don't think the way growing up here, this is just an example. People used to talk about like hitting your kids as like the worst thing. Now, I've got two perspectives to this. I know that that's like something that's really taboo here. But in India, bro, like every single person I know,
let alone in your house.
Oh yeah, the only time I've ever got like smacked by someone else in my life was at a school when I was like 5 in India.
Yeah.
Not by my parents. So like, I think it gets a bit more of a hard rap than it needs to sometimes. Like, it's not always as bad as it turns out
for sure. And it's such a case by case basis.
Yeah,
like that's just turned into like a stereotype, but.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's many families where...
But I have to say, I am very lucky though. The fact that my parents didn't, all my cousins got beaten the shit out of by their parents. Like, and they're thankful for it now, to be honest. So like, it's not something I recommend, but I don't like giving everyone a hard time about it because it was so normal and they would have got, spanked their childhood. So they kept it going and it's reduced. something you want to eliminate over time. But I just don't like giving olders like a really hard time about that sort of stuff.
No,
just
I
because
think
it's not right anymore.
You mentioned a key point with how much stuff's changed. Like I go back to example for my grandparents for that more than my parents, because obviously they moved from literally Punjab to then obviously Kenya, Uganda, then Kenya. Like there was so much change. Like, I can't even imagine like just getting up and going, not knowing the language, restarting your career, restarting
Mate, you
your
thought
job.
Cali was a big change.
Yeah. Well, and I was living it up. I wasn't even changing. That was my choice, man. I wasn't even changing. Like this is like correct. Like to be honest, that's mad respect for them.
Yeah,
like coming, setting up a family, the foundation, learning a language, getting a job, everything was mad difficult. And then you've got at that, especially back then, you've got like 8-9 kids in a family. It's not like you're just looking after 2.
No.
Like we're talking both from the perspective where it's just 2 kids. They're like 9 kids looking out in one room. Yeah, that I respect highly. And even my parents, to be fair, they had a lot of change because they were obviously part of the families coming up. So no, that was a great point you brought up, because there was definitely a lot of change. But I feel like you've had a decent amount of change. Obviously, I was born and brought up here, so less than
from my family's perspective, the change has come like mainly for me, my dad, and my mum.
Yeah.
Because we've been around and remember. So my sister can't remember the biggest changes. She's like just basically just British through and through, and of Indian origin, basically, in the way she is. But me, my mum, and my dad have navigated loads of change. So like, as I said, so even before we moved to the UK, we moved to Mumbai for a year as well, and back to Ahmedabad, which was like, you know, that's a fair adjustment. Like, I don't even remember this, but I spoke really fluent Hindi when I was younger. I can speak Hindi now, but not fluently as if I'm like from there. But from the ages of 5, like 4 to 5, where I was in Mumbai for a year, picked it up like I was local.
Wow.
So like there's that kind of stuff, which there's adaptations that I don't even remember now. Like I'd look back at a video of me talking, I'm like, is that me? No way. Like I'm speaking Hindi.
No
like
way.
Hindi. So yeah, that. And then of course, after coming here, man, like going to like a chavvy primary school and a very posh secondary school, like that change in itself is a lot. And like for my dad, his biggest thing was like, you know, he didn't speak English very well. We went to uni and everything, but he spoke enough English to like get by the exams, not work in the West. So he only thought of having to learn that after he came.
Well, that's another thing, right? Is that we're just talking from the kids' point of view, but the parents have got so much to learn with that change.
Bro,
that obviously
I deeped it recently. My mum was in her 20s when she came to the UK. Yeah, she was 29, obviously in the latter ends, but like imagine, like, I don't know, she had 2 kids at 29 and then she moved country with the 2 kids. Like, I just cannot imagine doing that. Do you know what I mean? That's like, you know, like, we won't get into like the economics of it and how it's like difficult to do, but just logistically doing that is just, that scares me. You know, that's not something I would ever imagine doing, which is, I guess, is a kind of privilege that a lot of people in our generation have that are from our community.
Of course.
There's a lot more, like things are set up for a lot more people now.
Which and I think as you
get appreciative about, you know.
As you get older, you obviously appreciate that more with more stories your grandparents and your parents tell you. So for sure. I think it's we kind of always look back on it and go, when you're like 14, 15, 16, you're like, why do they do this? Why do they do that? But you don't know what you're doing then either. So what you think you do. That's the funny
thing. That's the weirdest thing about growing up, you know, because like I've seen so many memes as well thinking this, that when you're like young, you look at like a 25-year-old thinking they've got everything like shit. And then you realize, oh, I'm at that age, and like I'm constantly in a weird position where when I was doing my masters, I was 22. I was like, my mom was pregnant with me when she was this age. Do you know how mad that is? I'm 25 now. My dad, like, you know, he's slightly older than my mom. My dad was like running his own business and like doing all sorts of stuff at this age, which, you know, I just never thought that my life would be as chaotic, I guess, or like as unpredictable as theirs was, you know?
It's interesting. It's definitely interesting for sure. It's I do think we need to get another pod where basically we get our sisters on to explain more of a female
I don't know if mine would be on it.
dynamic.
Yeah.
Mine would.
Yeah,
We can get my
yeah,
sister
she'd
on.
be on it. She'd be on it.
I think because there's a lot of stories to
No, I think. Well,
tell. I think
she's
because
too
we're coming
shy.
from a boy's
Yeah.
perspective, we've got not off the hook a little bit, but kinda.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they can really delve deep into.
Yeah, I reckon they're listening to this being like, oh, you're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
I
We're
reckon
trying to keep
that's,
it light.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, we've got an audience to cater to. Come on. But yeah.
But no, I think we've got, like, from the parents' perspective and from the kids' perspective, it is important. I just do think with Brown and South Asian culture, it's important. It's so hard to get the balance, but in another way, we need to be even more intentional, because we know that we are definitely more towards the overprotective, limiting, bit of over controlling side.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you don't want to be super relaxed. Like, you want to have that balance, which is hard. But no, I think it's just such an interesting conversation.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. I think why it's important to talk about particularly is because, like, it's a point of unity for, like, our whole community. But it's often, like, not talked about. It's almost like you don't need to say it. Everyone kind of knows it's there.
Yeah.
But I think to, like, progress in terms of what our culture is and what it's going to become, I think convos like this are important, so that, like, you kind of identify what kind of things do you want to keep, what do you want to let go of, you know, what was particularly bad that happened, or what can you kind of let previous generations get away with. So I think, I really like getting into this kind of stuff all the time, to be honest. I'm always curious to see what other people think as well. But,
yeah, man, for sure.
I'm sure there'll be plenty more episodes like this, but I reckon we can call it at that for now.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Yeah, slightly different, but I hope you lot enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts.
Cheers, guys.
See you in the
Thank you
next
so
one.
much.